back, everybody. What's up, Pat?
Man, I don't know. So we've done this twice now, right? We've
Yeah,
tried to record this episode twice. We've had some technical difficulties. Ben's on the road, softball tournaments. He's doing really well, I guess. But uh
yeah, we tried working one out on Sunday, and the audio was just terrible.
yeah, it
So we
was
got a lot to talk about.
pretty bad. Yeah, so but I was gonna say I started it every time I started it differently, like
Yeah.
and I didn't know how to even like so much has happened since then, right? Like
Hmm.
we tried to do it Sunday night right away. We tried to do it the other night.
Hmm.
And it's just like
More
every
and more
time
comes
it's like,
out.
yes, it's more and more. It's like I started with, man, this is crazy. And then the next one is like, man, the world is different. And I
Yeah,
don't know how to get farther from that, but we're farther than that
I
now.
know. It's so I started out Sunday, and I kind of went on a tangent in our last one, and I'm going to do it again just
Yeah.
to kind of pull this out. But the question was, how could somebody allow this to happen? And what I saw was, I mean, even now since Sunday, with some of the media personalities that are they're just relentless with their bullshit, man. I mean, so if you think about it, I mean, they have done everything they possibly can, calling Trump evil, saying he's going to destroy democracy, saying that he's, basically Hitler 2.0, that he believes in white nationalists, he believes in white supremacy, he's a racist, he's a bigot, he's a homophobe, a transphobe. I mean, you can give any kind of bad title that you can give the man, they've given it to him, right?
Well, they've
And
run
it's
out
not
of them.
just that they've run out of them, right? And it wasn't just the media, right? It was politicians. It was Nancy Pelosi. It was Chuck Schumer. It was Adam Schiff. It was, Maxine Waters, Feinstein. It was, you go down the list and there's Liz Cheney, Kinzinger. I mean, you go
Yeah.
down the list, there's a ton of people in political world that were constantly saying stuff. It's Hollywood. It's Robert De Niro. It's Madonna. It's freaking Johnny Depp. I mean, you go down the list of all these far left
Well,
people.
it doesn't even stop there. Like just what they said, they made a play about assassinating him,
Mhm.
right?
Right. I
Like there's
mean,
a Broadway play about it.
right. Where's
And
John Wilkes Booth when you need him? Remember that
right,
comment? I mean, when's the
right.
last time an actor in Hollywood, assassinated a president? Johnny Depp said that.
Johnny Depp.
Robert De Niro, I would punch him in the face. Like this has been a coordinated effort on their side to mobilize their base, their supporters to go hard against Donald Trump and just to really push that anger and hatred. Well, what do you think happens if you go 8+ years, 10 years saying that this guy's Hitler 2.0, saying that he's part
Yeah.
of Russia, saying that, he's going to murder people, he's going to put trans people in camps, like, and then you say stuff and use rhetoric like he has to be eliminated.
Yeah,
He
that's
has to be taken
Dan
out,
Goldman. Dan
right?
Goldman said it. Like literally those words. I have the YouTube or the clip on X. Like he
Right.
literally says Trump needs to be eliminated. And that was just a few
Eventually,
days ago.
right. And eventually what happens is you come down to the point of where you run into a kid, some kid's watching a 20-year-old kid who's mentally unstable, who feels like, hey, this is my chance to be known for something good. This is my chance to do something great, right? And this kid's mentally unstable. He's a far leftist. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I saw the meme that came out. This kid is you know, he died a Republican, but he's damn sure going to vote in this next election as a Democrat, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
they already came out and said he was a Republican, playing that cover down, using that as camouflage. But
Well, and he had registered. So like it's tough because like we've had this conversation twice now. But we were talking about I had speculated, I bet it was he's a registered Republican because he had to register to vote in a primary against Trump. And that's exactly what's come out now. He
mhm,
registered as a Republican to vote against Trump to vote for Nikki Haley.
right. And what does the media do? The first thing they say is, "Oh, he's a Republican."
Right.
Well,
Well, I mean, they
this
could say that about me because I voted for Obama to get rid of Clinton.
right.
Right.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. I mean, they could say
I
the
didn't
same
vote
thing.
in the main election for her or him, but
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, this is, and then we've talked about it in the past where the media is so dishonest, it just gives credence to conspiracies that are coming out. And you asked me on Sunday, you said, well, hey, what do you think? What was this? Was this a setup? Because there's a lot of things that are falling into place that are just, they're
yeah,
not, they're not, this is just whatever this is, it's not normal. Okay, so let's just talk about this real quick.
Yeah, I want to stop. Hold on one second.
Mhm.
I just wish we had that audio because I think for once I was the one like, dude, I think this is a bigger conspiracy. And you're like, let's just wait and see. Like I was all on like immediately. I was
Yeah,
like, dude, this
you,
doesn't feel right.
yeah, and I'm still not there yet with this being a coordinated effort, right?
Well,
Now,
and
don't get me wrong, I do think that the coordinated effort, I shouldn't say that it's not a coordinated effort.
I
I
don't think
think,
it's a coordinated effort to assassinate him. I think it was just a lot of stuff to like push the envelope to like it's not like
this
this.
is
I'm not
where
saying that they're
this is where I'm
like,
going to be the conspiracy nut on this. Now, hear me
yeah,
out.
okay.
Uh, Initially, when I watched the videos of the Secret Service and I watched what happened, I went down the list and I said, "Hey, man, I've worked with these people. I worked with them in 2008 for the DNC and the RNC in 2008. I did that as a TDY assignment, and the temporary duty, if you don't know. So I've done this. I've worked with the Secret Service, and when I was with them, I was like, before I went in and I had the chance to work with them, I used to have this like really high uh, thought of the Secret Service, right? I thought they were
Mhm.
just all high speed dudes. Everyone was like SEAL Six or Delta. And after I got a chance to work with them, I was like, what the hell? You're just a normal government employee. You know what I mean? Like you're not
Yeah,
special. Like I am far more well trained than you could possibly ever be. And
yeah,
I didn't know, right? Because everything I'd seen about Secret Service was Hollywood up to that
right,
point,
for
right? I've
sure.
worked with them a little bit overseas, but that was just me doing security stuff, like either in Humvees alongside them or in helicopters above. Like, but I never got a chance to uh to work with them until 2008 in the RNC and the DNC. Um, so what I know now about the Secret Service is they're just like any other federal agency. They've got their super high speeds and they've got their completely turd piles. And when this initially happened and everybody's like, oh, it was a conspiracy, they were trying to take them out. My very first thought was, no, it looked like they didn't have resources. It looked like they didn't have obviously their best on it because when a sitting president leaves the Oval Office, he gets to take his protective detail with him or a portion of it. And he did, he took some of his protective detail with him, but they're not going to give you the full crew that they give the sitting president, right? So it looked like they didn't have a ton of resources, and it looked like what they did have were some of the people that I've seen that were just like, you're a Secret Service agent? How the hell did you do this?
Hmm.
Now, a lot of people don't know, like, anybody can be a Secret Service agent. You have to go to college, you have to come out, you have to get into their academy, and then if you're hired, you're a Secret Service agent. Okay, so now that I've said that, the conspiracy of the part that I'm thinking now is making a hell of a lot more sense to me, anyways. You have Kim Cheadle, who's the director of the Secret Service, and she is a DEI, wants to push the issue, wants everybody to be um uh I don't even know how to explain it. Just that whole DEI portion
Hmm.
of the government that they're trying to put in place, right? And we have since learned, and there's a lot of reports coming out, and I couldn't get my buddy to come on. He said another time, so I'm going to hold him to that. We'll get him on, but I have some sources that I told you probably 2 days ago. This is kind of some of the stuff that I think is going to start coming out, and then all of a sudden it starts coming out. And I'm like, yeah, this is what I told you. He's spot on. But what we know now is that resources were denied, right? They asked for more resources. That was denied. Originally, in the first security perimeter, that building was supposed to be in the security perimeter because they didn't have resources. They pushed that out to LLEA, the building that the shooter is on. Um, they put Secret Service on the one rooftop that could oversee that building, but there were other buildings, with outside that perimeter. The
Yeah.
Secret Service, if you're the presidential detail, they go up to 1,000 yards, 1,000 meters. Everything within that is usually protected.
Hmm.
This was like 75 meters, 85 meters of a
Yeah, was it?
of a
They said
protected area.
130 yards.
That's where the shot came from, 130
Yeah,
yards. It was
yeah,
outside of the protected area, right? So I
you're
mean,
right.
that's a chip shot. We got into talking about the shooter the last time around, and I said this kid was not trained. I said it's freaking ridiculous because had he been well trained, that was a chip shot no matter where Trump is. I mean, if you're aiming where this kid aimed and you're panicking, like how this kid panicked, you're an amateur, which obviously now we know he's a 20-year-old kid. He was an amateur.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it was as much of a conspiracy as it was just shitty Secret Service agents with not enough resources. And it was Trump's protective detail that jumped on top of them, just like they're trained to do. And then you had the assault team, the counter assault team. You had some of those guys jump on stage and pull security for him, get ready to lay down suppressive fire so they can evac Trump out to the motorcade that's waiting for him, right?
Mhm.
Um, and it wasn't clean. This was a complete failure on Secret Service's part. I think we all know that now, right?
Yeah, I
But
think that's
here's
the
where
easiest
my
part.
this is a failure turns into conspiracy.
Hmm.
Right. And this is where the conspiracy comes in. You had the worst of the worst, or I shouldn't say the worst of the worst. You had a bunch of turds on this detail. We now know that some of his own detail was pulled off the job and they were replaced by a lot of DEI hires that were not real squared away. We know that Kim Cheadle basically denied them resources, and now it sounds like maybe Kim Cheadle and Joe Biden had a hand in pushing resources that were DEI to Trump almost as a political slap in the face, maybe, or we're going to find out a lot more as soon as Capitol Hill drags these, as soon as the Republicans drag these people before Congress. But right now, the stuff that we're getting out of Kim Cheadle is not making sense. This is the law enforcement's job to secure a building 145 yards away from the president or the former president, possibly the future president who's going on stage. Law enforcement notified Secret Service that a guy was moving up to the building and they never went and secured that building. The law enforcement detail that was at that building decided no, they were going to choose a different building to use for cover. This kid was able to carry an AR-15, a backpack, and a ladder, a 12-foot ladder to get on this building roof, and nobody stopped him.
So I heard 12 and I heard 5. I'm not sure where that's at, but I can't, it had to have been 12 to get up to the roof.
Correct. So, I mean, this is a giant failure. And now, like I was telling you, with one of my sources that I have, I'm not going to name names because he
Yeah,
didn't want that. When he's ready, he'll come out and he'll talk with us. It's going to be an awesome interview.
yeah,
But he was telling me that this was ridiculous how this all played out. It should never have gotten this far. It should never have. And this kid should have been stopped blocks in advance
yeah,
of. If they see a kid with an AR-15 carrying a ladder, they would have scooped him up right away, right?
right.
And that didn't happen. Well, why didn't it happen? Well, it's because you picked, the who's who of fuck ups to put on this detail. And here you go. We're gonna do this perimeter. I mean, whoever planned this out, it's almost like they planned it out with the best case scenario for a shooter to come in and try an assassination attempt possible. I mean, if you put, I would even say this. You and I work with a lot of different types of skill with
Hmm.
people. You
Yep.
could take our most marginal shooter, put them on that rooftop, and they would have made that shot.
Yeah.
That's my feeling. That's my thought process. If you would have taken any of our high skills, they would have had that shot. And I said on the last one that we tried to do on Sunday that this kid was probably shooting with an aim point, and probably one of the reasons that he missed is because it was bright out and he turned that
Yeah.
aim point up, which
They turned it
washed
all
out
the
his
way up.
target.
Yeah.
Right? He had that aim point up really high, 2 MOA aim point. It's turned up to its highest setting. If you're not trained, that'll wash your target out, right? So he missed
Correct.
just barely. I mean, by the grace of God, it got Trump in the ear, right?
Hmm.
And the other thing I brought out that I said was when that officer saw him on the roof and he pointed his weapon at him, the kid panicked and then turned around and fired at Trump. And he took those 3 quick rounds or whatever it was, 3 to 5 rounds. I don't know. I've seen the video a bunch of times, but it all washes
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Um, but one of the things that I noticed, if this were somebody with experience, they would have taken some sort of sedative, something that would have calmed them down. So as soon as they saw that cop, they wouldn't have panicked. They still would have rolled back over on that roof and been able to get that shot off. And it's funny because now today I see a bunch of stuff coming out with people on the left that I sent you that one where that doctor was like, hey, next time you shoot, you might want to use a whatever diazepam or whatever the drug is.
Yeah.
Oh, and don't shoot with a 5.56 because now we need to get out further. So you need a 7 mag or a 338, right? Uh, I mean, it's a much different world today than it
Hmm.
was 2 weeks ago because of this event. I mean, this
For
is
sure.
like we're seeing we're seeing how much the media actually affects the brain of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
anybody who's come out now and said things like, oh, the biggest mistake that was made is that he missed. And there's a lot on the left. I'm seeing
Oh,
like
there's a ton.
hundreds,
Yeah.
hundreds of people
Well,
saying this.
that was trending on Twitter. He
Yeah,
missed. You had one job. There were three of them. I can't remember what the other one was, but there were three of the top three trending was all about how people were pissed that they missed. And to go back just a little bit, I saw something today. Well, first we'll start with the libs of TikTok because they're the ones that are calling everybody out, like
yeah.
screenshots of everybody saying shit and like getting them fired.
Getting them
But
fired,
like,
good. Yeah,
yeah,
that one
there's a yeah
professor or the
the
teacher.
teacher in Oklahoma,
Hmm.
and all sorts of people. They were going after the doctor in California in Florida that
Yep,
said it, and they're
yep.
like, well, you don't even need the federal government to do it. DeSantis can do it, and they tagged DeSantis into it, right? Like, so they're props to them for going after the people. But about the cop that confronted him on the roof, they didn't have a ladder. They didn't have a way up.
They
So
used his.
today, no, today they said that the cop that confronted him was boosted up by another cop, and he grabbed onto the roof. Like I thought I sent you that Twitter, and they had to get boosted up onto it. So like he didn't even have the ability to pull his weapon because he's still trying to pull himself up onto the roof.
Right. Yeah,
That's why he retreated. He had no
he had
chance.
no choice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even if you're a cop going on that roof and you have a pistol versus AR, you don't have a choice. You don't have a chance. You're dead. So he has to come down. But
Well, they had made it sound like he had gotten up on the roof and he had confronted him. So like at that point, you should have had like at that point, I'm like, why was your weapon not drawn? Because then when he
yeah,
turns the point, but it was he got up over it and he
I
must have
think
startled the
I,
guy.
I think in my mind from the beginning, as soon as I heard that he saw the guy and then the guy pointed his gun at him, he got off the
Yeah,
roof. I knew it was just a
yeah,
head popping up. I mean, I never
yeah, yeah,
because I figured if he would have had hands free and he was on the roof, that
for
kid
sure.
would have gotten dosed with lead, right?
Yeah, for sure. You would
But
hope.
the problem that I have is no matter what, in any kind of engagement situation, you got to keep in mind too, these Secret Service snipers that were on the roof, the counter sniper team, this is probably a first time for them too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Maybe they were in the military, maybe they pulled the trigger, maybe not. You don't know, right? Um, but the human factor kicks in, right? Self-preservation kicks in. And one of the things that I thought was to their credit, it's absolutely amazing is the self-preservation for those protective detail guys.
yeah.
They don't have that. They
No.
just immediately jumped on the stage and jumped on Trump and just laid there on him for a little while.
Well, I mean, other than that one who was ducking behind another one.
But she was one
You've
of the
seen the
DEI
picture. Yeah,
hires,
yeah, for
and
sure. Well, and then
did I send you that meme like feminism in
yes,
Hollywood looks like
yes,
this, and it's
yeah,
Xena warrior princess or Wonder Woman, and then
mm,
feminism in the real world looks like this.
yeah.
That's exactly it, right? I mean,
Well,
don't get me
and
wrong. I've served with some badass females, but I've also served
there's
with
some for
plenty
sure.
that were not anywhere near that were shouldn't have been anywhere near a combat zone, right?
Mhm.
Not, but that's guys too. I'm not going to say it's women there. I've served with some guys that were worse than that,
When I think
but
that's one of the first things I'd said to you was afterwards, and like the next day when all the videos are coming out, was I thought there were height requirements for the detail. Like
there
there are
are.
three women on that detail that
Mhm.
were like at least a head shorter than Trump.
Yep, you're
So that
supposed
you
to be
see
able to
the
shield
one
them.
guy holding his arm over that lady's head, like
Yep,
to shield his Trump's head.
yep, yep. Um, your detail has to be. It's supposed to be bigger than your protectee, right? Now let's look at some of the things that happened. Okay, so that first shot, Trump turns his head. That first shot, it hits him in the ear, and immediately you see that was okay. He got hit, and Trump. The second shot comes in as Trump raises his hand to his ear, and Trump's like, "Oh shit, I'm in trouble," and he immediately goes down.
Mhm.
As soon as that first shot hits, the Secret Service agents that were at the bottom of the steps, they knew that was a shot that was a gunshot. They immediately got on the stage. By the time the second and third shots were fired, and they were on top of Trump. Uh, I had heard a lot of people right away saying that the Secret Service stood him back up and were trying to let him get killed, and that it was a setup. That could not be farther from the truth.
No, you
So the
can
way
hear
this
the in the video, you can hear them say shooter's been
shooter's down,
neutralized.
right? The shooter's
Yeah,
down.
up on
So
me, like all that stuff.
so you can hear them talking, and here's how this works for the Secret Service. And it's different if this is you and I with a protectee and
Yeah.
we're contractors, it's different than the Secret Service. The Secret Service has procedures for a reason, just like we would as well, but our procedures would be developed for a foreign country. And
Hmm.
typically what you want to do is as soon as your detail is engaged, you got to get him off the X and you got to get him out of there, right? He's in the kill zone. The shooter who is trying to assassinate him has already established what that kill zone is. Your job is to get him off the X and engage that threat and protect your protectee. The Secret Service, their first job is to get on top of the protectee
Yeah.
and stop. They pull up the motorcade. The counter assault team comes out. They get their protectee off the X and they get them out of there and they exfil them to medical treatment if they need be, or to a safe facility somewhere, or to the rest of their team that's waiting to escort them out of there. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Dan Bongino was talking about, I think it was him. He was talking about maximum to the protectee, minimum to the shooter.
To the shooter.
Because they
Right.
don't know
There could be
what
more.
else is going on. Right.
Right. There could be more
So
out there.
maximum to the protectee to cover.
Correct. And
Yeah.
so when they had that shooter down moment and they stood Trump back up, it was Trump's call. First, they kicked off his shoes and threw him off stage. He wanted his
Well,
shoes back on
The
because they
one
tackled him out of his
bounced
damn
like
shoes.
20 yards away.
Yeah, right.
Like it was
But
on
Trump
the ground
said,
off the stage.
"Hold on, hold on, hold on," and that's where we got that
Wait,
iconic photo.
wait.
Yep, and he said fight like 3 or 4 times, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that to me, that's a leader. Like
Hmm.
that's somebody who's responding in the moment to tell his people this is what they're trying to do to us, not just to him, to us. And when he said fight, that wasn't fight for him. That was fight for us. That was fight for freedom. That was fight for the causes that we're trying to push forward.
Well, that's
It
coming
was
from a guy that doesn't quite know what just happened, right? Like how
right,
bad he's hit.
right. And I mean,
If
here's
he's
the
going
deal.
to survive.
Anybody who's ever been shot at, anybody who's ever been wounded, you have a couple of responses that you go through. You either have flight or you have fight, or you have kind of a combination of both where it's like, holy shit, that just happened and I gotta get some cover. And then, but typically, and I'll say this honestly, most of the time what I saw was people get pissed. You're shooting at me. No, no, hell no. It's time. Okay, you're gonna shoot at me. Where are you? I'm gonna shoot back.
Sure.
But and I love to see that from somebody because
Hmm.
it's terrifying. Like when you get shot at, I mean, it's not fun, right? I mean, it's not cool.
Yeah.
Plus,
Yeah.
this guy
Yeah.
just got hit somewhere in the face, the ear. He didn't know at the time
Yeah.
where he was wounded or how bad it was right off the bat, right?
Right. Right.
So to see him get up and show the courage enough to stand up and wait there on the X because now he knows he has to show his people and the rest of the world. And we
Hmm.
talk about this in our line of work. Panic is contagious. If
Hmm.
you're panicking,
Yeah.
A, it's going to make him look like a weak leader. B, it's going to make those around him start to panic.
Yeah.
And it's not going to leave, and C, it's not going to leave his supporters feeling very, uh, you know, encouraged about the entire situation. Now it just makes him seem like he's lesser. But instead of being lesser, like the man put himself on a mountaintop and said, "Fuck this! It's time to fight." And I mean, that right
Yeah.
there, I've never been more proud of a campaign or more proud of a candidate in a campaign than I was in that minute. And like I told you the other night when we did this the first time, like when I first got the video sent to me by you, and you're like, "Oh my God, Trump was just shot at the rally." Then I watched the video. All you see is him grab his face, and then he goes down, and I thought, "Oh my God, he took one in the chest." And I was like almost in tears because like here it is. Here's this guy who's fighting for us, and the guy who's fighting for me. And we talked about it in the past where I'm so pissed off with all the stuff I got sent to do that was complete horseshit by the Uniparty just trying
Yeah.
to benefit themselves and enrich themselves. And here they are trying to take out this candidate. That's the first thing that goes through my mind is these sons of bitches are trying to Kennedy Trump because they can't beat him at the ballot
Hmm.
box this time around.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are going to go to that limit, that length, and say this is a setup, it's a coordinated setup, it's a conspiracy. It's going to come out. A lot of people are going to say it. And I don't think that this was as much of a conspiracy as it was that Kim Cheadle and Joe Biden and a bunch of people, Mayorkas and a bunch of these people, they got together. They said, you know what? If it happens, great. We're going to give him the shittiest security detail ever just to
But
spite him, and maybe it will happen. That I think did happen
isn't
behind
that the
closed doors.
conspiracy though?
Yes, and that I think did happen. I
Yeah.
don't think this was a CIA shooter. Like multiple shooters on the grass.
Oh
I
yeah,
sent you that
no,
video of
yeah,
where there's like, oh,
I
there's a
agree with
second
that.
gunman.
Right.
I think this is one kid acting on his own who, I mean,
With all the leaks that have come out about, and it sounds like, man, I don't want to say it, but it's obviously some of the detail guys or some of the people that were the advanced team that got bounced out of there for this other group that are leaking the shit that they like. There's the Iranian assassination plot that they were supposed to have,
yeah, come on.
like, they were supposed to have more detail. Like, so you're telling me you had more because of that plot than what was there, and you couldn't. The local law enforcement, another thing I want to get back to, the local law enforcement that was in charge of covering down that building told them that day, we don't have the resources. We can't cover that
We
building.
can't. We don't have the resources.
We're
But
not
here's the
able to
deal.
cover that building. Like that's supposed to be your
I
higher detail. Like, oh, we already gave them extra resources
right,
because it's Iranian plot. Fuck off.
right, right. And again, here's the thing, right? Like if this are you or I or 95% of the people that we work with, and we were told, hey, I need you to figure out the best way to protect the president. He's going to be on a stage that we're setting up here in this field.
Yeah,
Figure out what you need. There's not a one of us would have been like, yeah, let's leave this building outside of this protected area
right.
and not
It's
cover it.
right there. Well,
It's right
and
there. I
now
mean,
now all the shit about them seeing him 3 hours before and
mhm.
calling him, listen, that guy, we need to watch that guy. Like,
Well, and here's the thing too, like you know how I roll in my role, right? If I see somebody that's suspicious, I'm sending somebody out to snatch that guy up,
for
right?
sure. For
We're going to have a
sure.
confrontation. I'm
Yeah.
going to force that confrontation out away from everybody else,
Yep.
as opposed to, hey, let's
When
wait and
you're
see what
not ready
happens.
for it. Right.
Sure, when I send my folks out to do stuff, I'm getting eyes on, but I am pushing that confrontation on my terms, not on his terms, right? So, and that's what I don't get, why they didn't have law enforcement go out and round this guy up, or even have the counter assault team guys go out there and talk to this individual. And I just, the whole fucking thing reeks of just, of people who are not well trained, who don't know their job. Whoever did the advan on this, the advanced, whoever came out and did the, set up the perimeter and decided what was going to be what's in the perimeter, what's out of the perimeter. To me, I don't think they did it on purpose, but I just don't think they got the resources from Kim Cheadle. And I think that was a political stunt, right? They didn't care what happened to Trump. And I think, honestly, I think backroom talk, they were hoping something like this would happen because they know they can't win. And Kim Cheadle is absolutely Joe Biden's crony. She's a DEI pusher. She wants, what is it? She wanted to go 30 more percent or whatever the percentage was. She wanted to go with DEI hires and females in the Secret Service. Well, look at how that worked out for you, Kim. Like here you are, uh, here you are. You just completely screwed yourself with this piss poor performance of your DEI hires, for one. For two, you're going to be in the hot seat when it comes time for Congress to ask you some
Oh yeah.
questions.
Well, she was
Uh,
confronted. She's at the convention today. Two senators confronted her, I guess.
Absolutely, they should.
Yeah,
I
they
mean, for you to
should
say she said, "Oh, we couldn't put anybody on the roof for a safety concern because it
for
was
the
sloped."
slope.
Hey, Kim, did you see where the snipers were? It was even more
Yeah.
sloped than the roof you had. That's not going
Well,
to fly with the
there's a
American people, you
picture. There's
dumb.
a picture of the Secret Service on the A-frame of the White
Right,
House
right.
on that sloped edge. Like that's way steeper than the other one.
I mean, this is just a shit show from the beginning to the end. And I don't know. There's a lot of answers that need to come down. Now, what scares me out of this is we're going to have more of this. I said this before. We're going to have more. Why we're going to have more is because there's so many fucking crazies that the media has created because they've honestly painted it with their bullshit, with their lies. They've honestly painted Trump out to be Hitler 2.0. So all these people think they're heroes. It's heroic if you go in and take out Trump. This
Yeah.
is almost identical to the feeling that we got when we were fighting terrorists. For them, it was heroic to get, to suicide themselves to kill a handful of us, right? And the same thing is kind of evolving around Trump. They've created homegrown terrorists. That's what they've done. That's what their rhetoric has done. That's the same shit that imams and mosques were saying about American soldiers is exactly what the freaking Democrats and the Hollywood elites and the media has done. They have done this for the last 10 years. I mean, we were pulling out propaganda overseas that was just like what they were saying about Trump, right? I mean, he's evil, he's a dictator, he's immoral, he's this. I mean, the same kind of stuff could be found with just tailored differently, uh, geared towards, young, impressionable Muslims who were really just out there to make a name for themselves and
Yeah,
wage jihad. Well, this is almost like a jihad of the left against
for
Trump right now.
sure. For sure. Well, that's what
And
they've been
it's
calling
not
for,
going to
right?
stop. Right.
Yeah,
And it's not going to stop. And that's the scary thing. That's the hard part. And we have to just hope to God that we can make it through this. And eventually, what we do after this election, I have no idea. But it's absolutely disgusting to watch these people, professionals. There's doctors, there's psychologists, there's teachers, there's
there's
kids,
so
there's
many.
moms and dads that are saying, "Oh, we wish you would have been killed." That's fucked up.
Yeah.
That is absolutely so. They look at us and right. They always talk about us on the right or us as conservatives. We cling to our guns, right, and we're violent because of our guns. What? Not a one of us was like, "Hey, you know what? Let's go kill Biden." Not a one of us were like
Hmm.
saying something like that. And that would never would have crossed our minds.
There's only been
And
one Democrat president that's been assassinated, and that was done by the CIA. So
yeah, I mean, and that same president was saying things that mimic what Trump is saying, right?
correct.
Let's get
Correct.
rid of the CIA. Let's limit these agencies. We need
Yep.
a total restructure.
Yep.
And within a couple weeks, the guy's dead. And
Hmm.
uh, I don't know. Now we have to see what comes out of this. We have to see. I'm hoping, like I said in the lab when we tried to do this last time, I'm hoping Trump goes scorched earth. And if you're in the deep state, I hope he freaking declasses everything. He puts it all out there. And
Yeah,
you
me
know
too.
what? Let let the pieces fall where they may. Let the bodies burn in the fields. Fuck them. If we have to tear down the establishment to rebuild, fuck them. We need to go after it. And I think one of the things that you brought up that said, yeah, absolutely, was right off day one, he has to go after it and say, we're not going to do anything until we get term limits. You give me term limits and
Hmm.
we'll go from there. And I
Yeah.
think that's
We'll
what's got to
see. We'll
happen.
see if they, we talked
I
about the corruption part of it too with the insider trading. They've got that bill. I doubt it gets passed, but maybe with
yeah.
Menendez guilty verdict, him getting out, I think that puts it at 49-49, right? So
Mm-hmm.
or 49-50.
49-50 and
I think so
they have the tiebreaker.
well, there is no tiebreaker though, because it's tiebreaker now and they have the vice president. So if Menendez gets out until they get somebody appointed, the Republicans would have the majority. So I don't know how that would work.
That would be nice.
Hmm.
I have no confidence in any to come out and vote and then just have
Well,
to vote Republican
the
down ballot for this
Republicans
one.
have to though too, and there's some of them. There's just as many of them doing it as well. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think now Trump's got to use this. Trump's
Yeah,
got to use this as a way to say, okay, I need you to give me what I need to get rid of these people, to push them out of their cushy little seats, their perches of power. Because I mean, that's all it is. I mean, you have the Uniparty that's been clutching their purses and their power and their pearls for the longest time and not caring about anybody but themselves. They're not voting what the
for
way their
sure.
constituents want. They're voting the way that benefits them with power, right? So
Well, you look at some of the big bills now, it's like 80% of the people want the SAVE Act, but they won't vote
mhm,
for it.
they won't vote for it.
The Democrats just blocked it
Of course they
in the
did. I mean,
Senate.
and that comes
I mean,
down
they
to what
they
they
blocked the immediate call. They can't block the whole thing because they don't have the votes to block the whole thing because it's
right.
tied. So it's going to get to the floor,
It's going to get to the
but
floor, but no matter what, it
it's
never makes it
it's just gonna
across the desk.
it's going to get delayed to pass the election. So it's not going to even affect this one.
Yeah,
But even Biden said he's going to veto it. So
it's just, yeah, man. It feels almost like the world got more dangerous in the last 2 weeks just because of what we're seeing take place. And I guess maybe I was a little bit naive to how crazy some of the far left were, but to hear them after this assassination thing come out and say things that they've said, now I'm just kind of
oh, they've gone right back to it. Like the media's gone right back to it.
right back to it. And I mean, it's to the point of where they're trying to censor the picture of Trump with his fist in the air after he was shot
Yeah,
because
that's crazy. They're
it's too
trying to bury that
patriotic.
picture
They don't want it
because
seen because it's too powerful.
it's campaign propaganda or whatever they called it.
Yeah, and they don't want to
Photo
help Trump get elected.
photoganda.
I mean,
Yeah,
these people, they're the reason this kid probably shot at Trump in the first place between Hollywood and
for
everyone else.
sure.
And here's the deal, and I'm so glad that we were an inch away from a second civil war that wouldn't have been pretty. If they would have killed Trump, you and I wouldn't
Yeah,
be having this
I
conversation.
don't know what would have happened, to be
I'm
honest.
telling you right now, if they would have killed Trump, they would have made January 6th look like a fucking picnic.
Yeah, I think so.
They would have went to Washington with weapons and they wouldn't have
Hmm.
stopped. And the military would have been called in, and half that military would have been like, I'm not touching them. I'm
Yeah,
not doing this.
yeah.
Half the Secret Service would have been like, yeah, I'm not doing it. And people would have stopped. And I mean, overnight you would have seen another January. So you want to see an insurrection, you kill their candidate and tell them these people, 75 million Americans, and let them think that it wasn't, the political left that conducted this. This could have been so terrible. It could have went so many different directions. And even now, I just feel like no matter what the threat level surrounding Trump, it's got to be like condition orange or condition red still.
Yeah.
He's not safe. I mean, you're going to see him if it's an outside rally. He's going to have pulp glass all around him. He's
Yeah.
going to have he's going to have a counter assault team right off the stage.
Yeah.
You're going to see 4 or 5 different sniper teams. Now, I was telling you that a lot of Republican governors are offering some of their state police
Hmm.
uh, their TAC teams, their sniper teams, and stuff like that. So he's gonna be plussed up. And then I also know through my buddy that there's some private contractor security stuff that's going in place. So he's gonna have some of the best there
Hang on
from
one
now
second.
on for outdoor venues.
All right, we're back on. Sorry about that. I guess we're gonna have to pay for Zoom. I didn't know there was a limit. All
But I didn't either.
right,
So yeah, this on the road thing is kind of fun, huh?
yeah. Well, I mean, you've got a really nice bathroom, it looks like.
Yeah, I'm stuck in a bathroom. That's
Yeah.
correct.
Okay,
Uh,
so going back to talking about, I think we ended with the Trump getting it, like possibly getting his own people. Like,
yeah.
how's that going to work with Secret Service though?
So a lot of the people that are going to be used, like if they was to use like Blackwater guys, which I'm just throwing that
Sure,
out there.
that's
I'm
an
not
easy
saying
one.
it.
Yeah,
I'm just a contractor.
yeah. I think most
Um,
people know what when you're talking about contractors. Like, if you use some of the names, they're not going to know. But Blackwater, I think everybody knows.
right. So I mean, if you're going to use Eric Prince's guys from way back in the day, basically it's a handshake deal, and you come in as a contractor. Every one of them comes in as a contractor using your own qualifications, if you will, your own concealed carry, whatever. Um, and if it's completely different, if it's a foreign country, obviously
Yeah,
you're under the powers of war. Under that, and you're being contracted there. It's a hell of a lot different on American soil, but you're still capable of using your weaponry. Whatever states allow, you're able to use whatever they have. So those guys, you could give some of these guys a fucking spoon, and they would have been able to take this kid out from out
no
there
kidding. Yeah,
if you if you put them
yeah,
out there. But uh, I would be willing to bet that if it's like if there's rallies in Texas or Florida or conservative states, you're going to see a lot of these guys kitted up and looking like they're an assault team. You're going to see guys that are in suits. You're going to see guys in plain clothes with no weapons. And I think a lot of your strength and detail is going to be guys in plain clothes that
yeah.
you don't see weapons on, but they're definitely going to have
There's going to be
small
a
arms
bunch in the crowd.
and in these buildings around,
Yeah,
like these guys can blend in, they operate, they'll stand out. You're going to see them because of how observant they are and what they're doing. They're paying attention. You're going to see them. You're going to be able to pick
sure.
them out. Some of that's going to be on purpose so that everyone's like, oh, hey, there's a guy over there that he's
Hmm.
carrying, even though you don't see a weapon. And you're going to see a lot of square jawed, tattoo having guys that are walking around that
Yeah,
are not playing games anymore. They're being
yeah,
hired to do a job. So, I mean, they
yeah,
behoove you if you're on the far left, if you're somebody with Kool-Aid in your hair and you think that you're going to show up to a Trump rally and your constant push to kill toxic masculinity comes across one of these extremely toxic masculine men, it behoove you not to pull out a weapon because they are going to dispatch you from this planet almost immediately. So,
yeah, yeah.
um,
They're going to hit the light switch.
Yeah, it's over. So
Hmm.
that's a note. I mean, I looked at this pictures of this shooter and
Well, wait, you called it right away, right? Like it's gonna be some Antifa guy or
yeah,
someone like that.
yeah,
And
and that's what it is, right? I mean, you
yeah,
knew it was going to be somebody that was
yeah,
radicalized on the left, and
yeah,
they think they're killing Hitler, right? I mean, that's it goes back to, remember way back in the day, we'd always used to get those questions of, if you could sacrifice one baby to cure
yeah,
AIDS, would you do it? And this is
yeah,
the kid that's like, yeah, I'd kill that baby. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I mean
yeah, for sure.
that's how this works. And it doesn't help, like we said, the media and everyone's been attacking Trump and pointing him out to be evil. And he, for what? Because the guy was loud and he was a bully? No, really what's happening is the establishment, the deep state, which again, it's not some cloak and dagger group that's sacrificing children on the altar and drinking their blood. This is a bunch of freaking CEOs that are using our government to enrich themselves and at the same time enriching those members of our government that are just working to enrich these companies, right? I mean,
Hmm.
this is the deep state that's making decisions for our company. It's the lobbyists, it's the corporations, it's big tech, it's pharma, it's
Yeah,
even the media
it's not
apparatus. I
one
mean,
group. There's so many of them.
right. And at some point, someone realized along the way that America's for sale because we have politicians that are shitbags.
Yeah.
So we've been sold down the river. The little people, you and I, like what Trump says, I love his saying of, they're not after me, they're after you. They just got to get through me to get to you
I'm
because
just
they know I'm
standing
going
in
to
their
stand in the
way.
way. And that's
Yeah.
absolutely the truth.
Hmm.
Right. And that's the truth. And I guess that's the thing that pisses me off the most is the media and all these people who on the far left who have been pushing this agenda against Trump and trying to say that everything that was a lie is the truth. We're still seeing it. I mean, you and I were talking about it the other night where they're still fucking lying about stuff.
Yeah.
They can't help it but to lie about stuff. I just watched
In Biden's
Eric.
interview with what was this? What's that? Lester Holt? Is that who it
Yeah.
was?
Hmm.
Where he went back to the whole
Charlottesville.
not was it Charlottesville? I thought he
Yeah,
went to the
there's
other two. Now I'm gonna forget the both of
well,
them.
I thought
But
it was Charlottesville. There were good people on both sides commenting the supporting white supremacy and all that crap. And then we just saw Don Jr. get asked by
oh yeah,
MSNBC
yeah.
at the convention.
Called him a
So
clown.
are your dad's is your dad going to go back to locking kids in cages? That
Yeah.
was done under the Obama administration. There's numerous reports of that being done under the
Hmm.
Obama administration.
Hmm.
Hell, we even just talked about it in our immigration
Hmm.
policy, how Obama started it because they're trying to keep kids from being
They're
sold
trying
into
to keep
fucking
them safe.
slavery.
Yeah, they're trying to keep them
Obama did
safe.
it, and that's not a knock on Obama that he did it. He was doing the right thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
it
but then
is
they
what it
go,
is.
it is what it is. And then they go to Don Jr. They're like, yeah, and Don Jr. did. He said, of course, this is MSDNC. You're a freaking clown. Get out of here. We're done with you.
Hmm.
Like 48 hours after his dad, right, was
Hmm.
almost murdered in front of him and the rest of their family. I mean, that's for these news outlets to be trying to pull this shit, the lies that they know their lies. They absolutely know their lies.
Yeah.
Um,
The
and
go ahead. Sorry.
they're just gonna run it anyway. They're gonna say it. They're gonna do it anyway because this is who they are. This is what they do.
Yeah. The one that comes to mind, just going back to that, it was the bloodshed one. It'll be a
Yeah,
bloodbath when he was talking
bloodbath.
about the economy, and
Yeah,
everybody's like, "No, he said,"
he's
and
talking about murdering everybody,
this,
being a
yeah,
dictator.
there was
Shut
that,
up.
there was a, was it CNN? It must have been a CNN panel that
Yep.
the guy, the Republican on it, was just absolutely just scorching CNN, and the lady started arguing with him about, no, he said that it was going to be a bloodbath. The guy's like, you're a fucking idiot.
Well, that
You know, he was talking about the economy. You know that.
that's an actual financial term on Wall Street. So I mean,
Yes.
he was using a financial term on Wall Street to talk
Yeah.
about gains and losses, and CNN knows that. They
Yeah.
know
Of
that.
course they know it.
But I mean, this is what we're talking about. This is what they've done, and the media is the most dishonest organization out there right now. And honestly, it's because they're playing the long game for votes, right? They're
Hmm.
playing for their corporate responsibilities, their big tech. I mean, if you look at it, they're getting paid by the elites of the world and they're making a lot of good money. They're making a real good salary
Hmm.
to lie openly about stuff that they know is bullshit. I mean, they absolutely know it's
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Um, And if they don't, then you are such a moron that you can't even you can't even be taken seriously. If you don't know
Well,
this is bullshit, if you honestly believe what you're saying, you're so stupid that no one's going to take you seriously for here on out.
yeah, simply because you haven't done your own research. Like
Right.
if you honestly believe that, it's because you're believing everything that they're telling you to say, and
Right.
you're not actually looking at it yourself. Which
Right.
at what point are you good at anything if you're
And you
not
look
looking at the evidence yourself?
right. And we've said this before, the good journalists, like the fair and balanced journalists,
Yeah,
they don't last long in these companies. They get fired because it
yeah.
pisses off the bosses. Right. I mean, we
They
just
don't just get fired, they basically get blackballed by everyone else.
yep. And they have their sources overturned and they have everything, So I mean,
Mhm.
this is it's disgusting, it's dishonest, and it needs to stop because they're creating an environment. And like I was trying to say, if Trump gets killed, it's it's open season. You would have had 72 million people who voted for Trump. If you take 3% of that, remember the first revolution was won by 3% of the population that would stand
Yeah,
up and fight. 3% of 72 million is a giant number. Now I know Joe Biden has said things like, if you want to take on the federal government, you need F-18s and you need tanks, you need Abrams and stuff like that. You don't need an AR-15. Well, that's because Joe Biden's a fucking moron. What's
right.
been happening in Syria with, the rebels, the Houthi rebels, and everyone else going after the Syrian government? What happened in Libya? What happened in I mean, you go down the list and you can see
Hmm.
that this takes place and it's really an AK-47 that wins these battles. I mean, yeah, sure. Some people get weapons given to them by other countries, or maybe we use air power or whatever, but you look at how these cats are fighting all over in these third world countries, and a hell of a lot of damage can happen real quick. And
Yeah,
I think honestly, and here's the deal too. I honestly don't know that many politicians are going to ever agree with assassination being okay. I think this is the one time that if Trump would have been killed, they all would have been like, "Yeah, it's terrible. We should never. We can't go to violence," and then they would have been perfectly okay with Trump not being there anymore. But since that was a miss, this shooter missed, and it highlighted assassination. Every one of these politicians is going to come out and say, we can't do this. Assassination is not okay. Because if you make assassination okay, you're next, right? You're in trouble. So um, I would hate to point this out, but that kid missed a shot at 140 something yards. I would venture to say that not many Republican gun owners are going to miss that shot at 148 yards. So
no.
it would behoove you on the left to just, nix this whole assassination bullshit, nix the whole violence. Um, there's, so I can't remember the figure I heard, but it was like the average of 7 guns per American on our country, but most of the guns are owned by the right. So I mean, you do the number on that, it's just astonishing how many guns the right has.
Yeah,
Um, there's enough guns for us to each have like 12 guns that are just in the possession of people that are conservatives. It's not going to end well for anybody if you take Trump out. You're living as a liberal in a very different world within 24 hours of you killing Trump. If you're hooting and hollering out in the streets and a Trump supporter happens to be going by and you've got Kool-Aid hair after you've killed their candidate, I'm not sure that you're going to be alive much longer.
no.
And honestly, it's the end of our country. You don't want to go down that road.
Right.
Um, Here's the thing. Most people in the middle right, they're good people and they don't want to see violence brought to anybody, right? They want to see violence as a last resort to protect themselves, to protect their family, to protect their loved ones, right? But if you go ahead and step across that line and use violence to destroy their country, they're going to use violence to protect their country. And if you put them in a situation where you've killed what they believe is their hope to fix what is absolutely 110% broken, boy, I would hate to be you on the other end of that because eventually, like I said, they went to the Capitol and protested peacefully for the most part, but did go in and riot and scared the ever living hell out of those Democrats and the Republicans on January 6th. You kill their president, and they're going to turn every Democrat into Muammar Gaddafi. They are going to pull him out. They're going to drag them around in the streets. That's just what's going to happen. There's no covering it. You fuck up and you play the game of fuck around, you're gonna find out, and that's a giant fuck up for you and for all of us because then we don't have the United States of America anymore. It turns into a nasty civil war, and nobody wants to see that. Nobody on the right wants to see it. The left, I'm sure, think that it's a great idea because then they think they'd get rid of us on the right, but they're just keep hitting that crack pipe, bud, because that's where you're at. That's not going to happen. And uh, the only thing I can really say that to go with that is just everyone needs to take a step back and just stop. If you're on the left, I get it. You hate Trump. Cool. You can hate him. You don't have to vote for him.
Mhm.
You have an electoral process 4 years from now. You can vote him out if he becomes your president. Uh, Violence is should not be on the table because we've talked about it before. If the violence comes to our doorstep, I have no problems, just like you have no problems with protecting what we love, right? Anybody comes to a man's house or puts a family in danger, and I've said it, we've had this conversation with a lot of buddies at work. Hey, all bets are off. I'm willing to go to prison for the rest of my life to make sure what's important to me is alive. That's just how it works. So I don't ever want to get to that point, and we need to just take a step back and just calm down. And these people on the left, they're fucking crazy. Stop investigating parents at school boards who are angry about DEI and trans and all that crap. And maybe, just maybe, FBI, you should start looking at all these people who are making these claims on Facebook and on X and on Twitter and on whatever else, TikTok, about, yeah, the next guy needs to be more successful, use this type of weapon, use this. Maybe you should start investigating them as domestic terrorists. As the score stands right now, it's 1-0 in terms of trying to take out your political opponent. So, I mean, this is where we're at. But again, do you trust the FBI to do an investigation of this assassination? No one does. No one would trust the group that's done what they've done, how biased they've been. Do you trust any kind of Homeland Security? Nope, I don't trust Homeland Security to do this investigation. I mean, do you trust it to even go through the House or the Senate to have an event? I don't trust it. Unfortunately,
They said, was it the Office of the Inspector General for DHS? Was it also for DOJ is
yeah,
investigating?
I'm sure
Both of them?
I'm sure there's probably multiple investigations that are running, right? And I don't
Well,
trust any of them.
these were just from the Inspector General's office.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, DOJ has now, Mayorkas has now stopped the Secret Service from meeting with Congress.
of course he is.
Yeah,
I mean, because they're going to tell him the truth, right? I
yeah.
mean,
Well,
this is gonna break bad for
Mhm.
Biden's administration and
Listen,
Mayorkas
she used to
and
protect
Cheeto.
Cheetos, so she's not gonna be able to
Right,
figure out Congress. She's gonna
right.
lie, and she's gonna get caught.
Of course she is. She's got no choice. I mean, she's
She's gonna
working
be the
for.
fall. She's gonna be the fall. So she either has to flip, or she's gonna have to take it.
She's not taking it. 100% she's not going to take it. I mean, she's dumb enough to say we couldn't put Secret Service agents on that roof because it's a slanted roof. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
Secret Service agents are on a roof 150 yards away that's even more slanted than that one. Like, what do you think? The American people are fucking stupid? Like,
Yeah.
this is what gets me with these people.
Well,
They
yes, they
honestly
do.
think that we are that dumb. And
Mhm.
we look at them and we're like, my God, like I could have taken my kids out to that field ahead of this event and been like, what should we secure around here to make sure the president doesn't, get assassinated? They would have been like, well, I think we need this building secured. We need this one secured. We should probably put guys on a rooftop like it's a deer stand, right, Dad? And I'd have been like, yeah, you're right. We should do that. But apparently Kim Cheadle and the Secret Service don't have that thought process. If
Yeah.
that's the case, well, obviously we know that's not the case. They know what to do. They just didn't do it. They didn't appropriate. They didn't give the right resources. They didn't care. And that's the bottom line. They didn't care because it was Donald Trump. Here, Trump, as a slap in the face because we know you're against DEI, we're going to give you a bunch of DEI hires. We're going to pull half of your freaking security detail away from you, the guys that you've had since you've been in the Oval Office and out of the Oval Office. We're going to get rid of them. We're going to give you this shit assault team. And the plan is going to be so fucking bad that your assault team couldn't even respond and get through 2 fucking fences because we've locked them out. We put them on the other side of fences and nobody knew how to get through the fence or knew how to get to the building that was a threat because they couldn't. They had to have a freaking state trooper slam their patrol car
Yeah.
into a fence to break a gate open just
That's
enough so the assault
wild.
team could get through. That's how poorly planned this entire thing was. And they did that because they put that's not even the B team, not the C team, not even the D team, people that weren't even making it past qualifications that Kim Cheadle had to absolutely write a waiver for to get through. I don't know if that's broke yet. Some of
I
the
think I have seen that.
Okay. So yeah, some of these people had to have waivers written by Kim Cheadle to get through to pass their course. Just like how a lot of us go through stress fires and things like that in our professions. This individual didn't make it. They couldn't hack it. They couldn't do the no shoot scenario or in a timed environment, shoot who they were supposed to shoot and not shoot who they were not supposed to shoot. So she didn't pass. She was a DEI hire, a couple of them, as I hear it. And Kim Cheadle's like,
Yeah.
oh, sign in the paper, you're pushed through because you know what? You're a female and I'm giving you a pass. Not even, can't even make qualification, but I'm going to put you through. And oh, by the way, Trump, here as a slap in the face, you get this individual on your detail. Um, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. And like you sent me that video of Trump's motorcade at the hospital, and all the people had heard
Yeah.
that Trump was shot and that he was shot in the
Dude,
face, and they
that
were
video gave
super.
me chills more than the
It,
other one.
it gave me chills because those people were devastated. Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, oh my God.
They thought he
And
was dead.
they thought he was dead. This is a Kennedy moment for them. They hadn't received anything else to just
Hmm.
do that. He had blood on his face when he was
Yep.
taken out, right?
Yep.
And Trump gets out of the vehicle and he's standing there like, oh my God, he's up,
He's
he's walking,
walking.
he's
He's
standing.
walking.
And they run
Yeah.
over to cheer for him. And
Yeah. Thanking
that
God.
thank you
All
God,
of
yeah,
it. Yeah.
that's it's giving me chills right now talking about it
Hmm.
because
For sure.
I think people finally are starting to see like this, and there's a good portion on the left. I always talk about people in my orbit. Some of those people in my orbit were like, "What in the hell is going on?" And I said, "This is all the stuff you've been asking for. What do you think?" I had somebody in my orbit say that they couldn't wait to see Trump uh, held for all his crimes against humanity. And I said, "Crimes against what crime against humanity? What are you talking
That's a
about?"
card game, isn't it?
That's a MSDNC
Yes.
propaganda, and this individual was like everything he's done against humanity. I'm like, okay, well that's a large, let's narrow that down. Just tell me one thing he's done against humanity. And of course, you can't say anything. It's just, well, everything he's done, right? And I laugh now, but this same individual is like, well, what the hell do you think's going on? And I didn't hold back. I'm like, well, you're what's going on. People like you who say things like his crimes against humanity, people like you who say he's evil, he's terrible, he's all these things. You make it okay in the eyes of someone else, like this stupid 20-year-old kid who grabs a freaking firearm, shows up with a 12-foot ladder, gets on a rooftop, and is like, hey, I'm gonna kill this guy, I'll be a hero.
Yeah.
Well, and that's honestly, I'm sorry if people are too fucking stupid. And I know this person in my orbit is going to hear this, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I come across as an asshole. But if you're too stupid to understand and see the difference, that's a you threat problem. That's not Trump. That's a you problem. That's not Trump being mean. That's not Trump
Hmm.
being brash. It's you being gullible, is what it is. You are gullible and you believe what you are hearing, and you have not taken it and looked at it critically at any point, at any stage. And simply because you turned on NBC and you heard Joe Scarborough say it, and then you flipped over to CNN and you heard somebody on CNN say it, and oh my God, it's corroborating things. They're all saying it, so it must be true. No, it's not. What is true is that you're a moron and you didn't even take the time to listen to anybody who was showing you up front, just like the Charlottesville speech about there were good people on both sides. This person, too, when I said, hey, that's not what he said. Why don't you go ahead and watch the video the next 35 seconds after what the media
Hmm.
showed you, and you'll get the whole context of what he was saying.
Well,
That wasn't done either.
it was only a 5 minute video. So go watch the
Right,
whole goddamn thing because it was
right,
about economics to begin with. And he
right.
literally says it within like a minute and a half, I think was what we looked at.
Right. I don't know. This just the whole thing pisses me off. And like I said, this world's a more dangerous place than it was a week ago, just simply because of what took place at that rally. Right. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, God bless him. Uh, he's the leader we've been waiting for. He is the leader we've been waiting for. I saw a whole bunch of people being interviewed asking after this assassination attempt, Trump is what animal? What animal do you think Trump would be? And everybody's saying lion, tiger, lion, tiger, lion, tiger. He's a lion. He's a lion. He's a tiger. He's a lion. And that's what we need right now. We need a lion who is patriotic, who is going to stand in there and, like he says, he's got to take all these slings and arrows and stand in the freaking gauntlet and do what needs to be done for this country. And God save you, Lindsey Graham, you fucking, you know, little snaky, slimy piece of shit. If you don't jump on board and do everything this guy says, God save you from what's going to happen with people in your district and all the people that are pissed off at you. If you're another slimy, swampy Republican and you think that you're going to survive in this environment, the John Boehners of the world, the Paul Ryans of the world, if you think you're going to survive in this environment that's coming now after this assassination time, God save you, because you cross that line and you might have somebody that's just as crazy as that far left kid on the far right show up, and it's not going to be good for you either. So we're at the point now where the crazies are being unleashed. And what they don't think that we have crazies that are tucked across in the closet on the far right. Like we're holding them back right now, saying, please don't get violent. Please don't do that. Please don't step out there. We don't need that right now. But at some point, people like us are going to be like, oh, for fuck's sakes, we can't keep this under wraps forever. It's going to happen. So God save you if you're one of those swampy Republicans and you're going to try to go against Trump. If you're going to pull another Liz Cheney moment or Adam Kinzinger moment, God save you, because after this, I don't think any of these people in the Trump orbit are going to play around. And I mean, nor should they. I mean, at this point, the guy was how many? I mean, this is a first for us in our lifetime. Our parents' generation saw an assassination attempt, right? We were kids, we were babies when Reagan was the attempted assassination with Reagan. We didn't know what was going on. This to us is like this is real for all these Trump supporters. Some of them do remember it. Some of them never have seen this. This is a major thing that's taking place. And like I said, if you're one of those people who continue to push this, there's going to be ramifications, and eventually it's going to come to your doorstep. And I don't know how to say it any better than that. I don't know. I'm not advocating anything for violence. I'm not. I don't want violence, because that's a turn this country is going to take, and I don't know that there's any coming back for it.
There's
You
a
open up that can of
there is a
worms.
there's a
There's no coming back from it. It's win or lose at that point for either side. But I will tell you, if you continue to push down this path, Joe Scarborough or anybody in those media types, if you keep pushing, you're not going to like the result. You're just not going to like the result. I'm not going to like the result, but it's coming. Keep pushing, and we'll see what happens. It's gonna at some point that powder, that keg of powder is gonna ignite. And when it does, you think you're safe? You think they're not gonna come for you? You think they're not gonna follow you into some coffee shop? You think they don't know where you live? You think you're safe and hidden because you've got what, a couple of security guys?
Mhm.
We just talked about 72 million Americans have 95% of the freaking guns or whatever it is in this country. It's like 7 guns per conservative. You think your two security guys are going to stop a J6 event? Like, that's what you think? You think it's a real good idea to sell out this country for money? You think that's a good idea? Is that a good retirement plan for you, Scarborough? You think you can get out of the country fast enough? Go ahead. Get out of the country when it comes to that point. Please do get out.
Mhm.
But I don't want it to go the way you're setting it up. I don't want anybody to take that approach. But it almost feels like after that Sunday or after that weekend, on it happens on a Saturday, and that next Sunday we live in a much different country than we did, because we're still seeing, like we said, the crazies out there, ranting and raving about, oh, you missed, use a bigger weapon this time. This time you have to practice your shots from 500 meters out, because there's no way you're getting them within 150. I mean, it's not going to end. And honestly, I am terrified that somebody on our side of the coin who agrees with Trump's policies, who is trying to fight the good fight, somebody on our side, some crazy from our side, decides to do the same thing. And that's not who we are. That's
Yeah.
not who we are.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. It pisses me off. Like I'm sure you can tell.
For sure.
It's frustrating.
Yeah,
Com-
I think that's it, right? Like, it's the fear of it escalating. Like, we talked about it. I mean, we talked about Tucker Carlson even said it. Like, this is where it's headed, and we talked about that then. Like,
Mhm.
this is the path you're on.
It's a logical progression, man.
And everyone's, they literally, Chuck Schumer got on the floor and was making fun of Donald Trump for saying that there's threats against his life. Like,
Right.
there's an actual video of it. Like, really? How? This is what you're driving. This is what you're trying to do. You're trying to escalate people. Now, you may not say like, "Oh, I didn't want anybody to try to assassinate him." You're pushing people to the edge.
Yeah, and that's where it's at,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah. I don't know, man.
Yeah, man.
I don't know how it comes down from here. I was just looking at Twitter. Somebody just posted a video of it was Marsha Blackburn and somebody else, a couple other senators confronting the Secret Service director, but that's like 4 minutes long, so I'm not gonna play it without going through it first.
Right.
But I don't know. Like, man, it's crazy. It's a crazy time now.
Yeah, I mean, who knows where it goes from here? And I'm just hoping,
Trump's speech is tomorrow night.
you know,
I hope that he goes scorched earth on it with the unity thing.
oh, there's some little kids ding dong ditching our door here.
Oh, really?
My daughter's like, that's not me. It's not me.
That's funny.
Yeah, yeah, I don't,
But I hope he
yeah, I
has
don't
that.
know.
They've changed
And
their like on the end the like their press releases and stuff, their little slogans. They've added the unity or whatever
yeah,
to it,
unity.
and I hope he preaches that, but at the same time saying this is it. Like, look at what they're doing. Like, we need unity,
Right.
but
I mean, he's gonna call,
we
he
need
needs a
to,
strong speech. He needs to condemn all the stuff he's condemned. We
yeah,
can't shy away from that. And he needs to really just push forward. And he does need to talk about unity. It's time for us to move forward as a nation and get back to what we were. The craziness that we are right now, this DEI, the trans, all this bullshit, the stuff they're trying to put in schools. Um, it's got to stop. It's got to stop. Right. And
yeah,
I get it. We've talked about this before. I get that there's going to be trans people out there who feel like they're marginalized, right? Um, there's a way to do this where you're not marginalized. You're okay to be who you want to be and to still fix our country. And I'm sorry, but I'm gonna say it, and you're not gonna get everything you want. And the reason you're not gonna get everything you want as a trans advocate is because you're 1%, less than 1% of the population.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah,
But again, constitutionally, you will have a state where you'll be able to do whatever you want to do. There's going to be a geographical location. It's going to be California or
California,
someplace like that that is going to completely let you live how you want to live. And that's fine. That's the way this whole thing was set up, was for so you'd have a place to go that best represents your beliefs and your belief system.
yeah,
It's not every state, and you can't make it every state. That's not how this ever was supposed to be set up. And I'm sorry, the federal government to be used as a weapon for 1% of the world, for 1% of our population. I'm sorry, that's not how this works either. That's so, um, there is a way forward, there's a path forward, but this whole angry left against the angry right thing, it's got to stop. It's got to stop. Or, like I said, we're going to go over a cliff and you're not going to like it. No one's going to like it. And I guess my whole process is, like, for those of the guys who've been out there, those guys and gals that have seen combat, they've seen war, they know what it is. They know what it means. There is no winner in a war. I mean, sure, your country might benefit from a war, but for those of you who fight in it, there's no winning. There's only losing. You lose yourself, you lose your innocence, you lose um, body parts, you can lose your life, obviously, right? There's no winning in a war. There's just coming home.
yeah,
And if you're calling that a win, you're never going to be the same. You're just not the same person as you were before, and you're never going to be. So I pray that we never get to that point, because it's something that none of us want to see here on our soil. And like we said, this country's the greatest experiment that has ever been in terms of government, and it's been the most successful experiment that there's ever been in government. And now you want to tear it down and completely redo it, change it fundamentally, for who? It's not for you. the people that are supporting you and giving you the money to riot and protest, they're not doing this for you. They're not doing this so that you can have your rights and whatever. That you have every right that I have. Name one right as trans, LGBTQ plus, whatever, AI plus, that I don't have. There isn't one. You can't name one.
Right.
And we need to get back to it. We need to get back to, hey, I'll cover down for you no matter who you are and how you identify, what you believe. You cover down for me, and let's just get back to being people, right?
Yeah.
And just being good to one another and lose the political affiliation. I don't care if you're on the left. You shouldn't care if I'm on the right. Let's shake hands and just uh, work things out.
Yeah.
And if we don't do that, this is going to be a dangerous place come, January 6th, this next time around.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's, I don't know, man. We should probably wrap this one up. We can do another one of these another night.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll try to do another one here coming up and we'll see what happens.
All right. And thanks everybody for joining us. Obviously, we tried to get this out Sunday, but it just wasn't
We,
easy trying to figure out the
we've
audio
had
issues.
we've had some issues. We're not tech guys, so we're struggling.
Yeah. But we appreciate the support and stick with us. We got more coming on. Once we can knock down this interview that we have, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah,
And
that'll be awesome.
we'll have a lot more details of things that are taking place. So
Hell yeah.
that'll be a good one.
Yeah.
And
Right on.
yeah, give your spiel, bro.
Follow us on our website or go to our website rather, bluecollartakes.com, Facebook, Twitter, or X, Truth, Instagram, YouTube. We're on everything. So look us up, follow us, send out the love, spread it around, let people know.
Yeah. We appreciate you all. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And y'all stay aware. I mean, could get uglier before it gets better. But just there's one message I want to get out to everybody. It's keep your head on a swivel from this point going forward.
Yeah.
Things aren't what they were before, and it's just a scary reality.
Mhm.
So everybody take some time to evaluate your surroundings. Just be safe, y'all.
Yeah, right on.
All right, man. Well, I'm gonna dip out of here. You
Yeah.
take care, buddy.
Yeah, see you. We'll
catch
see you when you get back.
guys on the next one.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
we'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah.